The purpose of zones is so that you don't have a conflict between residential uses and business uses right next door.
And somebody way back when had to designate, okay, this area is appropriate for residential, and this area is appropriate for industry, and this area is appropriate for commercial, or what have you. Somebody is making those decisions. And very often it's the planners or the governmental officials. It's not the people that are living there necessarily, very rarely actually.
I thought that we should encourage any family that wants to move out of that community to find another home in the town of Southold and see that those people have homes where they're welcome, where they have neighbors, where they're integrated with all the rest of the town instead of a little enclave, and especially an enclave in a suboptimal location.
You've worked hard, you've saved your money, or you've got a loan and you're trying to make your house livable and live in it and whatnot, and then for somebody to come along and say, well, why don't you move? That's a slap in the face.
That's what it is. And to say, well, it's not a good place to live. But why isn't it? Because you're at the landfill here. That's why it's not a good place to live, but we had to stick it out because where else could you buy?
The average price of a house in the town of Southold is $498,000. And that the median household income in the town of Southold, and mind you, that considers that two people in the family are working, because this is generally the case. The median household income is $49,000.
The whole neighborhood would have been gone. I would maybe have rode past in the years to pass and say, that was an African-American community there, but, now it's all business and whatnot.
Little by little, property by property, one by one, the entire residential community that dates back to 1924, I believe, would have been zoned, planned, and wiped off the face of the Southold town map. And I just found that unconscionable. I was shocked and disappointed that the town board didn't take that position, didn't hold that point of view. They actually were right out of the gate upon first discussion of it, opposed to any discussions of rezoning the Church Lane community from light industrial to residential.
So many of the people in Southold town still had their heads in the sand. And we woke them up. They had that one meeting with all Church Lane. They've never seen so many. It was about 200, wasn't it, people that came out for the town meeting.
This house that we once lived in was owned by Tom Wickham's family. And Tom Wickham was on the board. And the house that was moved from the site decades ago, his father worked 33 years at the Wickham farm stand.
Yes,
and he said he remembered well, and Mr. Wickham said, I remember him well. He taught me how to milk cows. And then my husband said, well, you're milking more than cows now. And he continued on in a serious note that said he's never before complained, maybe I should just be happy to live in Southold and own a house and have a job. But now you're trying to push me out. Now I've got to stand up and say something to you. You've got to stop. It was a lot of tension there that night.
Is it feasible? Is it cost effective? Is it reasonable to protect a community like that and try to build it as a genuine hamlet, a little residential enclave on the side of a landfill? In fact, you can even argue that it's pejorative, that it's not. I mean, here you have a black community. Why are you putting and specializing in a black community right on the edge of the town's landfill? Is that really what you want to say about a black community in the town of Southold? I didn't think so. Rather, it is a logical place, it seems to me, for industrial uses.
Yeah, we know that Southold town, there's a lot of racist bouts that happen in Southold town. We know that. But it's like, no, we're not going to be quiet. And honestly, I don't think that they expected that, and I don't think they expected the coverage that we got, that we were going to have the people supporting. They thought that it was going to be something that we were going to come to the town meeting and to talk about. They were going to vote no, and that was going to be the end of it. I don't think that they thought that we were going to have the people with the creative minds, the educations to say, I'm going to go here, I'm going to get a lawyer, we're going to start a petition, we're going to get bumper stickers to go to the extreme that we did.
We had a lot of backing to us, and we had and we had a lot of white backing to us that sort of moved the issue along and brought it out in the open.
People were behind the residents of Church Lane, you know? They were behind the residents of Church Lane.
I think that's what really got us to where we are now, is by people changing their mind.
Right.
There come a point in a public debate when there are human questions and political questions and questions being raised about racial motivations that hurt the town worse than a poorly executed zoning decision.
How does the government of the town of Southold treat, respect, and honor the rights of its citizens? Do we do it on a case-by-case basis, or is it our policy that people come first as a whole?
And so I switched, and other board members came with us, and I don't regret it. It's a cautionary tale in how things work under local auspices in a small community like this.
I think this experience was good for the entire town.
What happened to us can happen to you too, so.
You know, we're not going away. We're here to stay.
You need to wake up and smell the coffee.